What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is going to be the history of the United States in 10 minutes. Now, this is a channel I've never checked out before. The link will be in the description. So if you've never seen them before, go and check them out and drop them a sub. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. 2 reactions on most days, maybe not tomorrow, just because right now we will know whether England has won against Germany. But I don't know yet because this is tomorrow for me, but it'll be after the game for you guys right now. So I may have had a few drinks and I won't have time to record for the next day, and hopefully it's fantastic news. But most days we've got 2 reactions, so hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, you absolute legends. Now, we've done quite a lot of history on the United States videos. Now, this is the entire history, so there's going to be some bits which I definitely don't know, and there's bits I should already know. It's compressed into 10 minutes, let's see how this goes. Hit that like button, like I've already said. Again, hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. And let's see what the history of the United States is in 10 minutes. Let's see what we got.
Even if the United States of America emerged as an independent country after 1776 and recognized in 1783, the history of these lands is deeper than that. Thousands of years ago, the first people settled in the American continent. It is not exactly known how the Native Americans first settled in these territories, but a theory says that people migrated from Eurasia starting 30,000 years ago across a land bridge known as Beringia. This connected Siberia to North America during the Ice Age. This migration continued until 10,000 years ago. At that time, a glacial period ended, and the land bridge became submerged by the rising ocean. But before we move any further, we want to give a big thank you to Raid, Shadow.
We will skip this ad. If you want to see this ad, go and check the channel out. I'm really going to enjoy this video. I can already tell I'm going to learn so much. I am keen for this. Stay with us because I imagine we're going to learn so much from this video. It seems like it's very well done. And yes, I'll see you guys in a second.
The early inhabitants were called the Paleoamericans. In time, they migrated even deeper in Americas, and they formed tribes and nations. They created interesting civilizations, developing their own culture. Among the cultures that existed here, we can mention Adena culture, Iroquois culture, Coles Creek culture, Puebloan culture, and Mississippian culture.
Well, let me guess. Mississippi, if Mississippian culture is not highlighted in Mississippi, which I roughly know it is, I'm going to be fuming. But again, I'm learning already, man. It's only just started. This is going to be so interesting. I'm so keen.
But another part of today, the United States has an interesting and different history. Speaking about Hawaii, this land wasn't inhabited until the 1st centuries AD. Native development started with the settlement of Polynesian people between the 1st and 10th centuries. Starting in the 15th century, European colonization began. In 1492, a Spanish expedition headed by the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus sailed west to find a new trade route to the Far East, but landed in what came to be known to Europeans as the New World. After this event, in the next decades, more and more ships sailed west to establish colonies and trade posts. The Spaniards began building their American empire, using islands such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola as bases. They expanded hugely. France founded colonies in eastern North America, a number of Caribbean islands, and small coastal parts of South America. Portugal colonized.
Is that France bit called the Louisiana Territory? Or something like that? I believe it is. It's the huge piece of land they did buy from France. Again, I'm just showing I kind of know, but I may be wrong.
Brazil. The eastern seacoast was settled primarily by English colonists in the 17th century, along with a much smaller number of Dutch and Swedes. The first successful English colony, Jamestown, was established in 1607.
Jamestown, let's go. I never knew that. The first one was named after me. Let's go. Come on, give me a round of applause for that. I'll take that. Now you guys are independent. I think you guys can see the good side of it and see it was clearly named after Beezer. I like it.
On the James River in Virginia, new wave of settlers arrived in the late 17th century and established commercial agriculture based on tobacco. Even though there were some conflicts between the Native Americans and English settlers, the colonies managed to expand pretty fast and more people settled in. Each of the 13 American colonies had slightly different governmental structure. In fact, a colony was ruled by a governor appointed from London. This governor controlled the administration and relied upon a locally elected legislature to vote taxes and make laws. By the 18th...
Can't be taxing that tea. they're going to revolt if you do that tea. Again, I know it's an inside joke between us guys. You can't be taxing that tea.
Century, the American colonies were growing very rapidly, and as a result of low death rates, along with ample supplies of land and food, this attracted a heavy flow of immigrants. The tobacco and rice plantations imported African slaves for labor from the British colonies in the West Indies, and by the 1770s, African slaves comprised a fifth of the American population.
Oh, wow.
The question of independence from Britain did not arise as long as the colonies needed British military support against the French and Spanish powers. The French and Indian War was an event created by the political development of the colonies. It was also part of the larger 7 Years' War. Britain beat French forces, and France lost their colonies and territories in Canada and Louisiana. The war was costly, and Britain needed money. The British Parliament passed the Stamp Act of 1765, imposing a tax on the colonies without going through the colonial legislatures. The issue was drawn. Did Parliament have this right to tax Americans who were not represented in it? Crying, "No taxation without representation." The colonists refused to pay the taxes, as tensions escalated in the late 1760s and early 1770s.
Good grammar
As we get an ad.
and spelling are important. But if you want to write essays that inspire
The Boston Tea Party in 1773 was marked as the start of the Revolution. It happened in the town of Boston to protest against the new tax on tea. Parliament quickly
The tax on tea made it in. I told you it was important. I know the whole revolution wasn't because of tea, but I'm happy with that. We always make jokes about it was because of a tea. And this, the tea revolution here, where they just throw it into the lake and dump a load of it, is a pretty good stand. And you never know, if this all didn't happen, you guys might be drinking tea. But it made it in there, so fair play. We do know a bit of our stuff. I like it. Again, I hope you guys are learning as well. I know a lot of you guys will learn this in school, but we don't learn it as much in school, the American history. So it's awesome for me learning it. Going over some bits I know as well, and I'm enjoying this. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of video.
responded the next year with the Coercive Acts, stripping Massachusetts of its historic right of self-government and putting it under army rule, which sparked outrage and resistance in all 13 colonies. Leaders from all 13 colonies gathered and created the First Continental Congress to coordinate their resistance. The Congress called for a boycott of British trade, published a list of rights and grievances, and petitioned the king for redress of those grievances. It wasn't about independence at that point, but this appeal had no effect, and so the Second Continental Congress was created in 1775 in order to organize the defense of the colonies against the British Army. The 13 colonies began a rebellion against British rule in 1775 and proclaimed their independence in 1776 as the United States of America. In the American Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783, the Americans captured the British invasion army at Saratoga in 1777, secured the Northeast, and encouraged the French to make a military alliance with the United States. France brought in Spain and the Netherlands, thus balancing the military and naval forces on each side, as Britain had no allies.
Which again, some people, if you're new to the channel, will think he's would be quite salty about this. I'm not. I don't know if you would think that. I don't know if anyone actually would be salty. It's a very long time ago. I don't think the world would be where it was without America. So it's an awesome thing you guys got your revolution. Great Britain, we weren't meant to dominate the world. We're happy. We've got good close allies now, and everyone gets on with life. That's the way I like to see it. So it's a good thing you guys revolutionized. It's great.
General George Washington was an excellent organizer and administrator who worked successfully with Congress and the state governors, selecting and mentoring his senior officers, supporting and training his troops, and maintaining an idealistic Republican army. The American Revolution was a success, and at the Peace of Paris of 1783, their independence was recognized. And even so, the former colonies gained more than expected. The expansion to the west started, incorporating the Amerindian lands, west of the Appalachian Mountains. A deal was made by the United States President Thomas Jefferson in 1803. He bought the Louisiana Territory from France. Initial diplomats sent to France were allowed to spend up to $10 million in order to buy just New Orleans, and, if possible, the west bank of the Mississippi River. But the French government said that for $5 million more, all of the Louisiana Territory would be sold. The president approved the deal, and the U.S. doubled its size. In the middle of the 19th century, some cessions were happening, and Texas in joining the Union in 1845, and after the war against Mexican Empire, the United States will take important lands and expand even further. In 1861, after Abraham Lincoln was elected, some states from the South, the Confederation, attacked the rest. The South Revolt was happening due to controversy over the enslavement of black people. In 1860, the United States was led by Abraham Lincoln, supporting banning slavery in all territories. War broke out in April 1861, when secessionist forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina. After 4 years of war, the Union achieved its victory, and the Confederates were defeated. National unity was slowly restored. The national government expanded its power. The 19th century was a period of economic expansion. More and more industries were created, and also the ascent was put on infrastructure. In 1898, the American-Spanish War is happening. Americans are winning.
Okay, I don't really know much about this. I knew a little bit. I knew quite a bit about the Civil War from the Oversimplified. I knew quite a bit about the Revolution, stuff like that. I don't know much about the Spanish-American War, so we're definitely going to learn something quite new here. I'm quite happy with what I've known so far. I've definitely learned some new things in there as well. But this video is awesome, so go and show these guys some support.
In short term some battles, and at the Treaty of Paris, US is getting the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam. At the beginning of the 20th century, World War I started. Even though the US was neutral due to German attacks on the American ships, and due to their intentions to make Mexico join against the US, the Americans joined the Allies. After this event, the economy was growing and all was good, until the Great Depression, which started in 1929. This event shook the world and created a base on which the Second World War will start. United States joined the Allies after being attacked at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941 by the Japanese Empire. Americans fought a distant war in Europe, Pacific, and they provided supplies to the Soviets, armored cars, motorized equipment, food, etc. Winning battle by battle in the Pacific, getting closer to the Japanese mainland, and after D-Day in Europe in 1944, the Americans managed to have a great impact and to help a lot on the Allied side. The war ended in 1945. Germany capitulated in May, and Japan in September after the 2 nuclear bombs dropped at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The United States and Soviet Union emerged as rival superpowers in the aftermath of World War II.
Okay, this is where we're going into a Cold War, which we know a little bit for. And by the way, we've been cheated a little bit. I know there's been quite a few ad breaks in there, but this is 11 minutes 14, and it says in 10 minutes. We've been cheated a little bit, but I don't mind. Maybe the ad break was 1 minute 14, but it's still awesome. This is the Cold War period, so we're getting closer to the 2000s now.
This was a period known as the Cold War. The two countries confronted each other indirectly in the arms race, proxy wars across the world, including the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and propaganda campaigns. The purpose of this was to stop the spread of communism. In the 1960s, waves of civil rights movements started. Rights of voting and freedom of movement to African Americans and other racial minorities. The Cold War ended with the collapse of the Soviet Union. After, the United States has been focusing on modern conflicts in the Middle East. The beginning of the 21st century saw the September 11th attacks carried out by Al-Qaeda in 2001, which
I hope everyone, if you're affected by that, I hope you're okay now. It's such a tragic event. And yeah, my heart goes out to everyone affected in that. It's such a horrible day.
Which was later followed by the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2008, the United States had its worst economic crisis since the Great Depression.
Yep. Oh, well,
a big thank you again to our sponsor. Don't forget to check them out by accessing the link down in the description.
That is the end of the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Again, a little bit over 10 minutes, but I really enjoyed that. We managed to make it 2008. Maybe there's one that will cover the last 12 years, but I obviously know a bit more about the last 12 years because I was alive then. I was born in 99. I've enjoyed that. A very brief history. I knew quite a bit of it, which I was very impressed with. How much did you guys know? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you want me to do more of these type of videos where we can both learn together, or you guys can laugh at me not knowing the information I should. I really enjoyed this one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, guys, and have a fantastic day. Peace.